Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's episode of Intuitive Angling. And man, I really appreciate you guys joining me for today's episode because we're going to be talking about the best lures and techniques for the month of August right now. August and September are the two toughest months of bass fishing, in my opinion. I think it's harder to catch them. We're going to be talking about why a little bit. But I've got 5 lures here that consistently produce bass for me during the month of August. And I want to go over each one of these baits and sort of describe the situations they work the best in, and definitely think it's going to help you guys catch a few more fish during this super hot time of the year in August here. Also guys, I will link all of the baits I'm talking about here today in my Tackle Warehouse link in the description of this video. If you guys would like to pick up some of these baits, using that link's a good way to support the channel. And you may or may not know it, but guys, if you use and bookmark my Tackle Warehouse link, every time you buy something there, the channel gets a small percentage of like the profit that Tackle Warehouse has on that thing. So it's a good way to support the channel if you guys are inclined to do so and give something back. Really appreciate that. Okay, one of the reasons, let me talk a little bit about why it's so tough this time of year, and then we're going to talk about some of the baits. When you're getting into August and September, there's a lot of different things working against the bass in terms of making them inactive where they don't want to bite. One of the biggest things is you got varying oxygen levels. A lot of times you got low oxygen levels in a lot of different places throughout the lake. Usually in August, the thermocline is set up pretty distinctly in most man-made impoundments, unless you got some type of significant current coming through the system. Like say, for example, if the water's high and they're pulling a lot of water through the lake, you don't have that. But if you do have a thermocline set up, you know, you're dealing with oxygen depletion below a certain level. So that puts bass, you know, either suspended or less than 25 foot of water in August for a lot of times. And then if you're fishing shallow water, which, you know, in my opinion, about probably 75% of the majority of the bass population lives deeper in August, 25% live shallow. The 25% of those bass that do live shallow, a lot of times they have some low oxygen levels too in the areas that they're at. So that sort of makes the bass inactive a little bit. And then on top of that, you've got the water's hot. That's not really a positive with that. And one of the things that I think personally, you know, is you usually have some dropping water levels in correlation with the fact that it's later in the season and the bass have seen so many baits. I mean, people have started fishing like in February and March, and these bass have gotten pounded in most lakes across the country by tournaments and recreational fishing for the last 6 or 8 months. So all those factors combined together make the fishing pretty tough usually in the month of August. Okay, now for the way that I like to fish here, guys, it's not that I can't fish deep. I've done super good fishing deep and I've won tournaments fishing deep, but in August, I prefer to fish shallow all the time because traditionally, if you look back at all the Bassmaster Classics that they used to have in August, almost every Bassmaster Classic was one shallow. I think there was only one classic I can remember that was one offshore in the month of August, but all the other ones were one shallow. And this is one time of the year that you can compete shallow. The tournaments that I fish here in Missouri, I can usually hold my own really good against all the spotlighters in August and September because, you know, there's a lot of fish to be caught shallow. And that's what I want to focus on today is my 5 techniques that I like to fish in shallow water here. Okay, first one let's talk about, guys. You hear me talking about this, guys, a lot, but I can't reiterate how good of a bait this is. This is that Megabass Super Z2 crankbait. This is, if you said, Randy, you can have one bait for the month of August, what is it gonna be? Give me a Super Z2 crankbait. This is a fish catching freaking bait in the month of August. It's a small little crankbait. It runs about 4 to 6 foot deep, a little over 1 inch long. I fish it around any type of off-colored water in the lake that I'm fishing. I need to have water visibility of less than 2 foot for the most part. It works good around rock. It works good around wood. There's just something about the action, the wobble of this bait, whatever it is, the profile of the bait, everything about it, guys, the bass really react to it well this time of year. And most of the time I usually fish it on a spinning rod with 8 to 10 pound test Seaguar Vizx line, targeting any type of shallow rock or wood. Really good bait, especially in stained water. Prime example, guys, if you all fish Grand Lake in Oklahoma, a lot of guys that watch this videos do, I have hammered them on Grand Lake in August on this bait. So Megabass Super Z2. And again, guys, I'll link all these in my Tackle Warehouse link in the description. Okay, the next one I'm talking about is a black Zoom Magnum Finesse Worm. I've talked about this a little bit over the last couple weeks, but guys, this is my favorite plastic worm in the month of August, in the black color especially. There's something about hot water, when that water gets 80 degrees, that they love this big, fat, little, short, black Magnum Finesse Worm, guys. I catch a ton of fish on it. I usually rig it on a 1/8 ounce to a 3/16 ounce slip sinker, 3/0 straight shank hook, and just pitch it and flip it around whatever shallow cover I have in the lake. I've caught them on cypress trees, lily pads, shallow grass, docks, rocks, any type of wood in the water. Really, really good, guys. And if you gave me a perfect water visibility, I want about 1 foot to 1.5 foot of water visibility. Now, all these techniques that I'm talking about, except for one of them, it's going to be in water visibility of less than 2 foot. So most lakes across the country, in a certain part of the lake, you have that type of water visibility, so you have to seek that out. Okay, the next one, sort of in line with the Super Z2, is a small square bill. This is the Megabass 1.2. This is just a little over 1 inch long square bill crankbait, guys. One of the things you're gonna find out about August, you're gonna catch a lot more bass on small crankbait. So this little 1.2 Megabass square bill is a money bait for me that time of year. And I pretty much fish both of these in the same areas. Everything that I just told you about the Super Z2, you can do the same thing with the Megabass S-Crank 1.2. Super, super good in both areas. Day in and day out, one of them may be better than the other. You just sort of have to let the fish tell you a little bit. But from what I have seen in my own personal fishing, if I'm fishing a mix of rock and wood, I like the Super Z2. And if I'm fishing straight rock, I like the Megabass S-Crank 1.2. Square bills are good around wood too, don't get me wrong, but I catch a lot of fish on this, like burning it on riprap banks and rocky banks, that type of thing. It'll run about, probably on a long cast with 10-pound line, 4 foot, maybe 5 feet. And most of the time I'm fishing on 10 to 12 pound test Seagar and Viz X4 carbon line. Now, occasionally, if I am cranking like stumps or lay down logs in dirty water, I may go to a little bit brighter color and put it on like 15-pound tests on a bait caster if the wood is a little bit thicker there. Okay, the next one we're talking about, guys, you've heard me talk about this, my Blaukat Throwback jig, usually 1/2 ounce, black and blue color is my favorite, or black and chartreuse, blue chunk right here. This is a really good 1-2 combo. When you're flipping and pitching in the month of August, this is usually what I do. I usually start out with the jig because it's a bigger, bulkier profile, usually catches the bigger fish. Once they get conditioned to the jig, I'll go to the worm here. But a lot of people don't fish a full-size jig in August. But guys, again, if you're in a situation where you got dirty water, like water visibility in that 12-inch range, and you got shallow wood cover, it could be docks, lay down trees, whatever, even lily pads, a 1/2 ounce black and blue jig in August is deadly, guys. It doesn't get fished that much, but the 1/2 ounce size creates a reaction strike. I have caught a ton of bass on a 1/2 ounce black and blue jig in the month of August. It's probably my number one bait to go to if I have dirty water and shallow cover. I'll have both of them tied on. Just like with the crankbaits, guys, in the summer, I always have both of these on at the same time, and I always have both of these on at the same time. And just like I said, day in and day out, the fish may prefer one over the other. Okay, and finally, guys, one of the top August baits, you can't deny it, is a frog. Frog is an awesome August bait. This is the Megabass Big Gabot Frog, which is my favorite. Frog is a really good bait to catch those fish when they're super, super shallow. If you hear me talking a bunch on the channel here, guys, if you've been watching me, the last couple months, you probably get tired of me hearing me talk about, spawning bluegills. But in August, there's still a lot of bluegills spawning. There's pumpkin seeds, red ear sunfish, black perch. They all spawn heavily in the month of August. And you can take a frog back into those shallow, flat coves and concentrate on any shady areas, anything that's putting off shade, an overhanging tree, a dock in the water, a lay down tree in the water, whatever, the angle of the bank, and throw this frog right up on the bank and just fish it in that shade. You got to stay in the shade with it all the time. And this is a technique that you can catch them in the middle of the day. The Bassmaster Classic, one of my favorite classics, was the 2004 Bassmaster Classic that Takahiro Omori won. And I finished in the top 10 in that tournament also, and was doing really good. Me and Takahiro and Dean Rojas were all in the same area. I was fishing like a little 1- crankbait. Takahiro was fishing a squarebill, and Dean was fishing a frog. And so three of the top bases you can fish that time of year, but he was just skipping a frog up in the shady parts of the overhanging trees. Prime example of August fishing with a frog, how good it is. So anyway, guys, that's my 5 favorite here. Reiterating them: Megabass Super Z2 crankbait, Megabass 1.2 S crank, the Blaukat Throwback jig, black and blue, black Zoom Magnum trick worm, and Big Grab Frog here. Again, I'll have all those linked in the description of the video. And these are my most consistent producers. All you guys out there that have ever been on like an on the water lesson with me or a co-angler, I have these tied on most all the time that time of year. They really produce well for me. So hope it helps out, guys. We'll talk later.